Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. La hawla wa la quwwata illa billahi al-aliyyil azim. Alhamdulillahi rabbil alamin. Sallallahu ala sayyidina wa nabiyyina Abil Qasim al-Mustafa Muhammad. وآله الطيبين الطاهرين لا سيما بقية الله في الأرضين عجل الله تعالى فرجه الشريف وجعلنا من أعوانه وأنصاره. In this session, I'm going to share with you some points, and this is just a kind of introduction to this subject. I have been thinking that inshallah, when Allah permits, we may need to have a course or a series on this. But so far, it seems that the time has not come. And also maybe I need to go towards different stages of having children, and then I can better explain. So we are going to share just some points. It's not comprehensive, it's not maybe very structured. But I would love also to be free and share your ideas, thoughts, questions, because in the end of the day we want to have something that will be useful for you. One of the issues that we find, there is harmony between our fitra and our nature as even, an animal, because human beings are a kind of, haywan and natiq. So there are instincts, there are many things we share with animals. But we have also, on top of that, our humanity. We have our fitra in addition to our instincts. Plus, we have guidance from revelation. But in all of these, the desire, the interest, the emphasis, depending on different things, have different language, instinct, somehow fitra, somehow religion, somehow, to form family and to have children and upbringing children is mentioned. So we are not doing something against our nature or against fitra or against religion, quite to the opposite. This is the path that even those who are not religious should take it, and people who are religious should take it. So there is a harmony, there is a kind of holistic approach to having family and children. Imam Raza alayhi salam in his khutbah for marriage, he says, even if we had no ayah in the Quran and no hadith about marriage, we still were able to understand the necessity of marriage. Yeah, it's not that we have no other reason and just because of ayah or hadith we marry. So having children is very natural thing for human beings. But what is important is that a mu'min would try to do everything, even if something is natural, even if something is, driven through instincts, they try to do it with ma'rifah and understanding. Yeah? So everyone wants to have children, for example. But we should have extra awareness and reason why I want to have a child. Not just because, I want to have a child, or just, I want to have, a kind of entertainment for myself, or I want to have someone to help me in future. We should have clear understanding of why we want to marry, why we want to form family, why we want to have children. Okay? So you make everything in a conscious way, not just by instinct or by pressure of the human desires, etc. If you do things with attention and good intention, then forming a family is one of the best things that you can do. When the Prophet said that no construction has ever been built in Islam better and more loved by Allah than marriage, this shows that how sacred, how valuable is forming a family. You may form a family for yourself. You may help other people also to marry. This is also great if someone can help other people to marry. You can break down your own family, or break down other people's family. This is a crime. This is one of the worst things that can happen, is to break a marriage. Of course, there are circumstances that maybe there is no other solution, but as I always say, divorce is not an option. Marriage is one way, there is no return, but sometimes emergency happens. Otherwise we shouldn't think divorce is an option. So we have to do everything with clear understanding, with attention, intention. You may have heard me saying this example, that Amirul Mu'minin alayhi salam, when he used to plant trees and make gardens in those 25 years, one of the things he used to do was to dig well or to make gardens. He used to say 2 rak'ah prayer for every tree that he was planting. It means that he was planting with wuzu and with consciousness. Why? Because I am now occurring in the chain of life. Allah is going to create life here through me. So I have to be very conscious. I have to have, connection with Allah and wuzu, and then have a palm tree, for example, planted here. Now imagine if you want to have children, how conscious you have to be. Rasulullah, before having Lady Fatima Salamullah alayha, that he went to the cave for maybe 40 days, if I'm not mistaken. He was in deep contemplation, connection with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, so that he is in a best shape and form, mentally, physically, spiritually, for having a child. So, if we marry and if we decide that now I am mature enough, I am responsible enough to have a child, and we ask Allah for help and we embark on this journey, this is a good approach. But if just I happen to have a child, I don't think about it, about consequences. And when you are going to have a child, you have to be ready for all consequences, for all circumstances. Maybe you are going to have a disabled child. Are you ready to look after your child, or you are going to regret? So when you reach that level of commitment to be a father or mother, that no matter what's going to happen, you are bringing a human being, or part of the process of a human being coming to this world, and you are happy to take all the responsibility, then that's the time that you will have child. Of course, you shouldn't delay too much. Some people now may delay too much, but you have also to take your time, not quickly. Then, one of the things that you have to learn, I tell you now, so that you don't need to take this lesson by force, is that your children are not your property. You learn this, unfortunately, very late, normally. We think, this is my child. Everything is from me, my wife, everything. We looked after this child, we sacrificed everything for this child. And you feel that at least the child, should feel the same. But not necessarily. In the same way that maybe we were not also behaving with our parents the same way. As soon as we managed to, make up our mind, we plan for our life. We try to be respectful to them, but we didn't necessarily, listen to them, or we tried maybe not to offend them, but we said, I'm independent, I can make decision for myself, So, you have to remember this from the very beginning, that this child is an amana. It's not my property. It's an amana. I have to look after this child. Maybe in future this child is going to appreciate, maybe is going to be upset with me. Some children are very grateful, some children always complain. You didn't do anything for me. What did you do for me? Sometimes they question, they say, you didn't do enough. They don't say you didn't do enough. Sometimes they say you didn't do anything for me. So, from very beginning we have to remember, my child is not my property. My child means that it's this amana under my care. Especially nowadays with this culture, of individualism. Even they bring this process, earlier. If in the past, for example, when your children finish high school, they were becoming independent. Now even a child in primary school, you don't have that much full control over the child. So we have to be prepared for that. Look after your children, love your children, but don't make your children the reason for your life, or I am there because I have children, or this is my hope, just do your wazifa, but be ready for not being appreciated. If they appreciate, then they are happy. If they don't appreciate, you are ready for that. So I don't know if you have heard this a story from me or not, the funniest joke, They say one maybe reciter, or a speaker went to a village for tabligh or recitation. Maybe months of Ramadan, 30 days he was there. And after 30 days, he wanted to go home, said goodbye. They say goodbye. And no hediya, no pocket, and envelope was there. So he said again, goodbye, I am going. They said, Bismillah, have a safe journey. So he said, maybe I make a wuzu. He delayed, no one was saying anything. So at the end he mentioned, any hediya, any they said no. Then he said, at least you must have told me in the beginning that you are not going to give me anything, so that I do it for the sake of Allah. All these these 30 days, I was thinking how much they are going to give me. I have my family, etc. If you told me from beginning, I could do it for the sake of Allah subhanahu. So now I tell you, before having child or your child is very young, do it for the sake of Allah. Don't wait for any hadiyah to come. Sincerely say, no, I am looking after my children to the best of my, but for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. They say one person was outside a house and people of the house were, shouting and screaming and, swearing at him, but he was smiling. So they were surprised, they are, mistreating you, but you are smiling. He said, this is a family that I have been supporting for some time. But I don't know why they're upset with me. There's a misunderstanding, something, and instead of thanking me, they are swearing at me. But when I look at my heart, I see I am not regretting that I helped them. This makes me happy. Now, it was a test. If it was not sincere, then you regret why I helped them. These people didn't deserve to be helped. But if it is for the sake of Allah, it doesn't matter. لا نريد منكم جزاء ولا شكورا. So, do things for the sake of Allah, because He is the only one that you can always trust. And He is someone who is never going to remain in debt. Yeah? Allah is never going to remain in debt to anyone. If you do something, He would return to you much more. So, this by itself gives us a different attitude to our children and to upbringing children. I love my children, I look after my children, but not without expectation, not with thinking they are my properties. These are servants of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and I do it for the sake of Allah. If you do things for the sake of Allah, then whether the child becomes good or bad doesn't make a big difference, because you have done it for the sake of Allah and you don't have control over another person. What Allah asks me and you is not whether your child is good or bad. You may disagree with me, but this is my understanding. Allah doesn't ask me, is your child good or bad? Allah asks me, did you make efforts to upbring a good child? Did you try everything possible to upbring a good child, a good mu'min, a good human being, or not? If you have done your best, but your child, God forbid, has become a bad person, you don't regret too much, although you are sad. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam was very sad to see that some people are not benefiting from the guidance which is available. But Allah is not questioning Rasulullah about choice of people. Allah wouldn't say to Rasulullah, why these people didn't believe? Do you accept or not? Allah said, did you deliver the message? Ma ala rasul illa al-balagh. The same with parents. Parents are not responsible for the choices of their children. We are responsible for our own action, and that is to do your best in tarbiyah. Yeah? You have to do your best in tarbiyah. If your children become good or bad, very much depends on their choice and on many other factors that are not in your hands. So, if you have a good child, some credit goes to you, but some credit goes to the child. Yeah? I cannot say all the credit comes to me because my child is a good child. Also, if it's a bad child, again, some responsibility goes to him, some comes to you if you have not done your job properly. Am I right? He's listening very carefully. Is he or she? He, mashallah. Mashallah. So, this is some introductory points. Now, some of the tips that may help in order to open this discussion and inshallah receive your questions and comments. One of the things that I think is very helpful is that if mother and father are in unity with each other when it comes to tarbiyah, sometimes maybe you differ with each other on other issues. But for tarbiyah of your children, please try to have unity. Because if father gives one signal and mother another signal, this will confuse the child. In the beginning, the child is confused. When the child grows up, then he learns how to use one of you against the other. Yeah? So knows when to go to mom, when to go to father, and sometimes, create problem between you. It's very important that father and mother should have harmony, unity among themselves. Leave aside your differences and try to come up with one plan, and both of you support that. Not that, for example, you say, I am doing this, but your father is not happy, but I am, there for you, to look after you. Or I am there for you, don't look at your mother, for example. This is very bad. If father and mother are together, if they ask Allah for help and they work in unity, I think many problems will be avoided. But if there is no love, no respect, or at least a practical harmony is not there, then it would have bad effect on children. And even if your child becomes good, may have some, mental issues, lack of confidence, etc., when there is no peace at home. If we want to understand the way children look at us, there is a beautiful hadith which says, when you promise your child, you must keep your promise. You cannot say the child cannot do anything, cannot take me to the court or not. You have to keep your promise to everyone, especially children, especially those who are vulnerable. Then hadith says, because your child looks at you as his or her Rabb. For a young child of 2 years, 3 years, 4 years old, father and mother are like lords, Rabb. Unfortunately, not for too long. You become soon servant, but for some time you are the lords. And in that time, if they see two lords are fighting, imagine if you live in a country where there is war. You are suffering. If in the whole universe there was war between Allah and Shaitan, for example. So, parents should know how much children respect them and love them, and therefore be in harmony, give the same message. One of the bad things is in that age especially, if I say to my child who has done something bad, I don't love you. It's so bad, so much destructive, because it's not like saying to an adult, I don't love you. Even this is bad, but for a child is terrible. Because if you say, I don't love you, then this child doesn't know, where he or she belongs. It's very dangerous. Never, say to a child, I don't love you, I don't want you, or I'm going to leave you. So, harmony between father and mother and understanding development of the mind of the child at this time, how he is looking at me. I am his Lord, then I have to be very careful. At this time, I am only one of the factors. A time comes that teacher becomes more important than parents. A time comes that peers become more important even than teachers and parents. Depending on the age that they go through, we have different meaning for our children. Yes? So we have to understand how they look at us and therefore how we should respond. Another thing which is very important, and it was very interesting for me many years ago, I heard this. There was a very respected, very successful teacher in Tehran, the late Ruzbe. I don't know, some of you may have heard. He had good Islamic studies, but he had also studied physics, and he had masters in physics, and he didn't have children. He dedicated his life to Islamic school in Tehran, and many of good people were trained in that school. So he has a sentence that now some of his students who have schools they quote. He said, "Our children don't become what we tell them." Yeah, if you say be honest, be kind, they don't become what you tell them. They become what we are. Of course, in the best scenario. In the best scenario, because sometimes we have good parents and children, they don't become like them. But in the best scenario, if they see you are honest, they may become honest. But I don't think there is that much chance. It's not impossible, but there is not that much chance. If they see father or mother are dishonest, and then the child becomes honest. It's very rare. But if they don't tell lies, it's because they didn't hear lies. Yeah? Sometimes we are not careful. For example, someone is calling, say, tell them I'm not here. And this child is so honest, says, my father says that I'm not here. Because doesn't know what is lie, But then after a few times he learns. He says, my father is not here. So who taught this child to tell lie? We have trained them to tell lies. So we can hope that if, inshallah, even this is not guaranteed, we are in harmony with each other. We are doing this for the sake of Allah. We ask Allah for help and we try ourselves to be good examples for them. Then inshallah there is a great chance that they may also become like us. Otherwise, no. And alhamdulillah, we see many good children, many good people in our community everywhere. And you should not lose your hope or morale and say, because I live in the West, I know that I cannot have good children. If you become despair, then automatically you will not try. Alhamdulillah, we have very good children and we have all the possibilities. Just we need to be careful. Don't take things for granted. When it comes to tarbiyah, I don't think there is any ayah or hadith which says do tawakkul. Don't do anything, just do tawakkul. Yes, do everything properly and then do tawakkul. Another point is, for a child to grow, in addition to the parents, it's very much needed to have support of other family members. So if father and mother give the same message, but grandmother or grandfather or uncle or aunt confuse the child, this is also something destructive. We cannot disconnect, but we have to be very careful. For example, if you see some of your family members or in-laws are not good, showing good akhlaq, don't send your children for a week or 2 weeks or 3 weeks. Then you see after holidays that become another person. You have to be careful. You have to understand how to do silay rahim, but also not to lose control over tarbiyah of your child. Okay? Also, your children need to have good friends. Those who have, mashallah, many kids, the inside family, they can make good friends. But also cousins, friends, in the community. If your child every day goes to school and meets many other children which may not share our values, at least every week, once, twice, also meet other mu'mineen, let the children of mu'mineen play with each other, spend time together, so that this child doesn't, get shape and form in an un-Islamic environment with un-Islamic friends. So this is also very important. And then any opportunity for having Islamic education. If there is madrasa. If there is Islamic school. I have seen many people, unfortunately, give so much priority to secular education that they compromise about Islamic side. So, I want my child to become, very good scientist, or doctor or whatever. If he or she goes to Islamic school, maybe they don't give the best education. Yeah? They don't want to take risk with secular education, but they take all the risk with Islamic tarbiyah. But if your child has a good Islamic tarbiyah and average secular education, he can do well. We have many people that even have not been living in these countries in the West. They have studied, in Middle East. But because they were, intelligent, they were hardworking, they get to the best universities and they get the best results. People think, no, if doesn't go to that school in London and goes to this school, they cannot have good future. This is unnecessary, concern. Of course, Islamic school should try to have the best secular results. But in the end of the day, if we need to prioritize one thing over the other, if we cannot have best of both, which one should be prioritized? Do you want your child to be the best, for example, scientist with no Islamic akhlaq? You don't want that. You prefer your child to be a good human being, good father, good mother, good member of society, good akhlaq. Even if he doesn't get to the best university, even if, which I think is not the case, because with a little hard work you can, overcome these differences in schools. And the other thing that I would like to mention, there are many things to mention, but my request is that among different values, among different qualities, we should focus on few things as very fundamental values. One is truthfulness. Truthfulness is very, very important. We said that in Islamic ethics, truthfulness is most fundamental. All the values go back to truthfulness. If you have a child who is honest and truthful, you can say that future is almost guaranteed. Truthful is very important. Another thing which is very important is your child should learn how to have mentality of a team member, not just an individual. You know, the current culture is pushing all of us to be individualistic. Yeah? Even sometimes husband and wife or children and parents now are losing their connections. They think about only themselves. Yeah? There is no unity sometimes, because this culture is encouraging everyone to just look after yourself. You are the center of the world. Yeah? Think about yourself, plan for yourself, enjoy your life. You don't hear that much that your happiness depends on happiness of people who are around you. Yeah? Your happiness is collective. You don't hear such things in secular education that much. We have to do the opposite. From very childhood, the child should learn that common good is very important, not just my personal selfish good. I have to make sure that I make people happy. If I have a toy, if I have food, if I have pocket money, they should learn to use it not just to enjoy themselves and say to others, look, I am enjoying this, you don't have this. Learn how to be generous, how to be charitable, how to be kind. A person who is honest and kind is impossible to harm others later. It's impossible to be a bad husband or bad wife if you are kind, if you are selfless. Yeah. So we don't need always to emphasize on religious obligations from beginning. You can start with values. Then at the right time we talk about religious obligations. If they have those values as foundations and then these religious practices, it will be very beautiful and a stable structure. But if they have no values inbuilt and just we do certain surgery or cosmetics on the top, this is going to collapse. They may be regular in their prayer, but there is no love. There is no kindness. It's not going to work. This salat is not proper salat, because proper salat should come from someone who is caring about others, who is loving others, who is a manifestation of Rahman and Rahim. Okay? And finally, I don't want to speak too much. Finally, as much as possible, another lesson that please take it before it becomes too late. As much as possible, spend time with your children and talk to them. Sometimes we are busy with something, we don't have, or you have come from work, you are busy, your child comes to you, you don't show attention. Yeah, you wish your child goes away, goes to sleep, or watch TV, leave me alone. This is very bad. Why? Because now this child has interest in you, wants to spend time with you, enjoys being with you. You go everywhere, says, I want to come with you. A time comes that even if you bribe him, doesn't come to you. Even if you say, come with me, we go to park, doesn't come with you. That's the time that you are losing your child. Or some people, say, I am young, let me, work extra hours, I want good future for my child. So they spend, 16 hours, 18 hours outside home. They always work. Your child needs you, not your money. When you have all the money, child has no interest in you. Because the time that he was coming to you, you were not there. When he was in your need, you were not there. You were working for him, but he wants you. This is also something that we have to learn quickly. Otherwise, you want to spend lots of, for example, time with your boy or with your daughter, they have no interest. If they are very kind, they sit 5 minutes and then they go. Otherwise, to your face that, I don't want to be with you, I don't want to, So, inshallah, if we learn these things and we share our experiences with each other, we ask Allah for help. We shouldn't be hopeless. There's great hope, but we cannot take risks. We cannot, just relax. We cannot just, wait to see what happens. If you have any questions, ideas, comments, we can discuss. We have, alhamdulillah, good time for questions. Bismillah.